God is great. I mean, we witnessed what almost everyone who has spoken publicly about this in authority was a miracle. And that miracle took place on Saturday, July 13th at 6:11 p.m. in Butler, Pennsylvania. President Trump was shot. The shooter, maybe 130 yards from the president, right around there between 130, 200 yards from the president, on a top of a building, elevated position, missed the president because he turned his head ever so slightly to look at some stats that were up on a big screen that he has been showing at his rally about the border. I want you to think about that. It was just that fast. Our nation could have been embroiled in upheaval right now. Because let me tell you, if President Trump, if that assassin would have been successful, can you even imagine the chaos that would have ensued? I want to go back to the time, 6/11. I'm a person of faith. It doesn't mean that this is exactly why, but I thought it was very interesting. There were so many people that were like, Ephesians 6:11, it happened at 6:11 p.m. And also, we're going to take a look at this video, and then we're going to talk about what's happening at the RNC. I will be heading there shortly. But that flag, the American flag that we all see in this iconic photo now, in which the photographer took the photo looking up towards the president after he had been shot. The blood is running down his face. He's surrounded by his protection detail, which is kind of circling him as almost like a half circle, because in the front, the other protection detail and the Secret Service is lower. And you see the flag up above, and the flag is turned upside down because of the wind. So you see the president, he's bloodied. You see the flag turned upside down, almost a sign of distress. But you also see him with his fist in the air, And at that moment, watching on the television as all of this took place, because I was in Washington, D.C. for an event, actually for a border 911 event with Tom Homan and Derek Maltz, Victor Avila, Rodney Scott, my good friends that are fighting to win our nation back. Mark Morgan was there. We were there to support families who lost their children to the fentanyl poisoning crisis in the United States. But right at that moment, Trump is saying, fight, fight, fight. He is saying it. Fight, fight, fight. And I don't know how you feel about this, but that really shows someone's character. I was in the war zone for many years covering the war. And when you're under duress, when shots are being fired, let alone, I wouldn't even imagine, I don't even know what it feels like to be hit by a bullet, or be in that moment where you don't know if you're going to lose your life. How do you react? How will you react? How would you react? Things are very different when you think about them in your head than how it really plays out. And what we saw play out before the entire world was a man that was never willing to give in. So let me go back to 6:11. 6:11, Ephesians. Put on the armor of God so that you may be able to stand firm against the tactics of the devil. People will say, oh, well, we're just looking into things. We're just looking into it. We're making this stuff up because, it could have been anything. I don't think so. I think what the world witnessed on live TV, as Americans saw their former president, and I believe the president that will be elected in November, President Trump, as he was mobbed by his Secret Service and his protection detail, as they rushed to the stage to protect him, we saw a miracle. And that miracle was witnessed not just by us, but by the world. I want you to think about what that purpose might be. I really truly believe that, when he made the decision after he was shot, he said, I'm going to scrap. I'm scrapping the speech that I was originally going to give at the RNC, and it's going to be something completely different. It's going to be about uniting America. And I believe that's what this is really about. It is about uniting America. Because that bullet was not it was meant for Trump, but it was symbolic about what is happening to our nation too. It's about every single one of us. It's about every single one of us, no matter if you're red, if you're blue, if you're in the middle, whatever party you belong to. It is about this nation and how divisive we've become and how our enemies, both within and outside of our nation, are taking advantage of that division and utilizing that division to destroy us, to destroy the fundamental principles that make our nation so great. When that happened, when President Trump was hit, most of us, when we saw the blood, couldn't believe it. And in fact, it was just absolutely disgusting that some of the media just downplayed so much of it. I don't know if they were trying to be careful. I just personally think that they just hate Trump, so they didn't even want to believe it. They just wanted to imagine whatever was going on in their heads, but that they didn't even recognize that those were actual bullets. For being in a war zone, the sound of the bullet. You could get confused sometimes a backfire of a car, but the reaction of the president at that moment, the reaction of those around him, I thought was very significant, that something significant had happened. We saw what the Secret Service had done, and the media kind of failed us on that part right at the beginning. But you could see the blood, and you could see what had happened to the president. And one thing that you could see too is how the crowd reacted. For the most part, they stood there. They didn't run. There was a sense of a state of shock at that moment. But they stood by President Trump's side. And when he gave that iconic fight, 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 the crowd fed off of that. People sitting at home, I know you must have felt that. It was like, yes, this nation is not over yet. The hand of God is still on our country. The hand of God is still on our nation. He is still hearing our prayers. But for how long? This isn't about President Trump, folks. It's about every single one of us and how we choose to rebuild our nation again. The president is going to keep on fighting, and we should too. On today's show, I'm going to share a few insights on what Trump rallies are really like, how I heard about the news, and what we can expect in the coming days. And I want to say congratulations to J.D. Vance for being selected the vice president of the United States by President Trump, the running mate to go along with him in this quest for the presidency. I guess I'm jumping ahead because I really believe that they're going to win in November, but God only knows. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. Of course, always could be a surprise. But I really, truly believe that we're going to see a new chapter in American history. And so I'm so grateful to all of you as well for subscribing and sharing our show with your friends and with your family. Please keep doing that. The more you share the show, the more we grow. But first, Goldco. Do you know that experts called gold the everything hedge? Gold goes far beyond hedging against inflation or the stock market, and it gives you peace of mind that your money is invested in something with real tangible value. That's why gold just hit another record high, and central banks keep buying gold at a record pace. That's also why I've partnered with the top-rated company, Goldco. Listen to their current offer. Get 10% instant match and free bonus silver with a qualified account. Plus, visit Sara Likes Gold, SARA likesgold.com to qualify for a free 1-ounce silver Ronald Reagan coin. Diversify your money with time-tested safe haven assets, physical gold, and silver. Today, Goldco is offering up to 10% instant match in free bonus silver with a qualified account. Plus, visit SaraLikesGold.com to qualify for a free 1-ounce silver Ronald Reagan coin. That's Sara, Sara, likesgold.com or call 855-823-GOLD. That's SaraLikesGold.com or call 855-823-GOLD. I'm going to play the video for you in a moment. I'm going to explain a little bit what's going on in this video. For those of you watching on Rumble or YouTube, you can see it for yourself. But I want you to take a look at this moment and really take in the fact that an instantaneous, short, fraction of a second decision changed this country's history forever. Take a look.
Take a look at what happened.
You can see where the president's grabbing his ear as he went to the ground. He's being, protected by his protection detail and the Secret Service. There are people looking around, in confusion. People just don't know what's going on. You hear a woman screaming. There was loss of life, and that was so tragic. A firefighter. And listen, you can hear them saying, move, move. The president's still on the ground. I mean, nobody knows what's really happened. Some people that were there said they didn't even know that the president was even alive. They didn't know actually what had happened, how severe the injuries were. The shooter had been taken down, had been taken out by a sniper, but it was after the shooter had already fired numerous shots to the president. Here he goes. They're moving him. And there was all this bizarre confusion, like with the Secret Service too, which I think needs to be fully investigated. It was just a mess. This woman looked like she didn't know where she was going to go. Then she comes back. And I was listening to my friend Dan Bongino talk about this. And there he goes. Fight, fight, fight. There he goes. And I liked it when he told the Secret Service he was going to wait. And now they're walking him down. They're trying to cover him. But look, he's 6'3", and look at the size of the Secret Service agent. He's completely exposed on her side. And I'm not trying to say she isn't doing her job. For crying out loud, they are putting everything on the line. These are people that should be honored because they are law enforcement. But there's a lot of concern with how that protection detail handled his protection at that moment, because there was just way too much of a delay in taking out that shooter. Now there's video out there that actually shows that there were people pointing as the shooter was climbing a ladder to the top of the building. And that there were people trying to flag down law enforcement to tell law enforcement there's somebody on this building. This is a presidential candidate, a former president of the United States of America, President Trump. That person should have been taken out. Even more important, and my husband used to do protection details, there should have been somebody on that roof. There should have been somebody, a sniper, one of our guys on that roof protecting, because the vantage point from that elevated position would allow one of the protection detail personnel to see the entire crowd, right? Which is the reason why the shooter selected that elevated position. These are questions that have to be answered. That was a moment for all of you. These are the moments that history books write about that very few people have an opportunity to witness. Very few people. It will be in history books. It will never be forgotten. The turn of his head is what saved his life. There's so many beautiful, beautiful pictures out there and paintings, and people created graphic art with it, saying that, the hand of God cupped him, the hand of God moved him, an angel moved his face. Everybody's like, we know what we saw. We can't explain it. We can't explain why that happened. President Trump himself said he rarely turns, and it's true, rarely turns his face from the audience. I saw President Trump in Chesapeake, Virginia. I was at the rally there with Governor Youngkin, and I think Governor Youngkin would have made an amazing vice presidential candidate pick as well. But I was there, and I remember, looking around and saying to myself, oh, is there enough security here for the president? I said that. I actually told people that I was with do you think there's enough security? And we were looking around and I didn't feel there was. I felt there was too many areas that were exposed. And, and I was talking to other people who have spent time with, senior officials or people from the White House, and I have too. And, sometimes when the Secret Service clears people, they give them these little pendants and they keep those on and to let everybody else know that this person has been cleared by Secret Service, and there's other things that they do in order to ensure that that person is protected, that the primary person that they are protecting is protected. And a lot of times things will happen, like the pens will fall off or the tags will fall off or, and they'll be like, oh, I lost it. And they'll be like, okay, go right ahead. I know you are. Or we trust you because you already made it this far. Well, you never know. You never know. And this is the reason why it is so imperative, especially in times like now where we've seen so much division, that we actually go the extra mile to protect the president. Right now, at the RNC, I mean, everything is like on lockdown. And it needs to be that way. It needs to be that way. We cannot afford for anyone else to get that close to the president in an effort to remove him from our lives. This is not just about President Trump, folks. When President Trump said, this isn't about me, this is about all of you, I'm just in the way, that's exactly the truth. That's exactly the truth. I've been to a number of Trump rallies. I mean, the overwhelming amount of people that are there, it's absolutely incredible. I would not want that job to protect the president because, not because I would be afraid that anything would happen to me, but because I would feel that it was just never significant enough to stop, a crazy person from maybe entering the perimeter and getting close to the president. It's that difficult. And we've seen that in history. But what we actually witnessed in Pennsylvania, that was something so remarkable, something so unbelievable, something so miraculous, because everything would have changed. I was talking to friends and I was like, what would have happened? What would have happened if this assassin would have been successful? And almost everyone says, I think the worst fear was that we would actually end up so divided as a nation. And the trust factors, especially between the right and the left, would degenerate to such a magnitude that we would have seen, I don't know, maybe some kind of uprising, maybe fighting. God help us. God only knows how bad this could have gotten. This is why it is so important that in the upcoming days, that the FBI and the Secret Service protect President Trump and J.D. Vance with every ounce of their power. This is why it is so important that Robert Kennedy get the protection that he needs in his quest. Because it's about every single one of us. We don't know who's out there. Robert Kennedy Jr. had been begging for Secret Service protection. Wouldn't get it. I believe what Dan Bongino said. Again, Dan Bongino has sources within the Secret Service, and Dan Bongino is adamant that President Trump did not get adequate protection even when they asked for it. And that, my friends, is unacceptable. This is about the future of our nation. I'm going to be leaving tomorrow morning for the RNC. I'm going to be there until Friday. There are a lot of events that I'll be attending. I am grateful to be a part of such an important time in history. I'll be speaking with Tom Homan, who is an invited speaker actually at the RNC, and will be speaking there as a special guest. He was the former director for immigration and customs enforcement with ICE and will be returning if President Trump is elected to the White House, preferably to handle the situation that is happening at our border, which is, to me, one of the most crucial issues facing our nation. I'll be meeting with others as well, people with the Heritage Foundation who are going to be there. I have a little bit of a speaking engagement with some folks that are focused on Central America and South America and the Western Hemisphere. I will be speaking there, and I will be attending some of the functions, particularly CPAC. I'm very excited about seeing Mercy and Matt Schlapp and the rest of the gang there at the RNC. But I think the most important part of the RNC is what it symbolizes right now for America and for the American people, and for the fact that we are going to continue. We are going to continue to stand up, like President Trump says, and we are going to continue to fight. We should never give up. And that's something I've always said on the Sarah Carter Show to you, to every single one of you, is that you are all that important. Every single one of you, whether you're at home, picking up your kids from school, at work, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're working in a factory, it doesn't matter. Our founding fathers gave us the power to make a difference. They put the power in our hands. And we had a wake-up call. God's hand is on our nation. God's hand is on our nation. God, I truly believe, is listening to us, and our prayers are being heard. But we have to continue to live on principle, and we have to continue to fight the fight. That's when we get rewarded. That's why we can't give up. That's why President Trump, even though he hit the ground, even though we had no idea, and I don't even think he had any idea how serious his injuries were. That's why when he got up and he didn't let the shooter hold him down, he didn't run away with fear, but he looked in the face of fear. He stood in the face of evil and said, "You are not going to move me from this position." That message, fight, 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 that is for every single one of us. Before I let you go, I want to read you something. Selena Zito, she is a friend of the president's, and she's a great writer. She does all these amazing stories on, for rural America. And she just wrote this amazing exclusive Trump rewrites Republican convention speech to focus on unity, not Biden. So she did this for the Washington Examiner. It is absolutely beautiful. I want to go ahead and read this to you. There's no clip of it. You'll have to go to the Washington Examiner to read the whole thing, but I want to read this to you. Former President Donald Trump has completely rewritten his convention speech in light of the assassination attempt against him on Saturday, and will call on Thursday for a new effort at national unity. After being hit by a sniper's bullet, Trump said he wanted to take advantage of the historic moment and draw the country together. The speech I was going to give on Thursday was going to be a humdinger, he said. Had this not happened, this would have been one of the most incredible speeches, aimed mostly at the policies of President Joe Biden. Then, quote unquote, honestly, it's going to be a whole different speech now. Talking as he boarded his plane in Bedminster, New Jersey for Milwaukee, Trump said his speech will meet the moment that history demands. It is a chance to bring the country together. I was given that chance. Early Sunday morning, Trump posted on Truth Social that it was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening, and that he would fear not, and that he would fear not. And remember, Selena Zito was in front of the podium on Saturday. She dove down for cover. The Secret Service and the detail also went on top of her to protect her. She was right there with the president. She faced the same critical moment, with evil, and she could have easily been killed in the onslaught of gunfire that came his way. And the tragedy is that people were killed. And the tragedy is that there are two in critical condition right now as well. in the hospital. You know, just like me, I went to go see the president speak in Chesapeake, Virginia. I was sitting right in the friends and family box, right in the front, right where, you know, the bullets were flying. Apparently in the exact same position that happened to the folks in Pennsylvania. You know, we're living in very uncertain times. Our nation has been through so much. Our nation has been through so much. And we have so much to be grateful for as well. We need to take this second chance. Just as President Trump is taking this moment to thank God for sparing his life. And we need to take that same chance for ourselves and for our nation. We need to put our differences aside. We need to find a place inside ourselves where we can unify. I'm not saying to not fight back. I'm not saying to not stand up against, you know, the woke indoctrination or the Marxists or any of that. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is our foundation, the principles that have made this nation great, we have to find a way to make that formidable again, to connect with one another again, to not let any of the rhetoric divide us. Instead, we have to be unified to save this precious nation, not only for ourselves, but for our children and our grandchildren and future generations. There is only one United States of America. There is only one United States of America. This is it. This is it. God is calling upon us to save her. And it's going to be up to us to do that. He's already done his part. Now it's up to us to do ours. Hey folks, MyPillow, you know I love Mike Lindell, and I love the fact that he cares so deeply about our nation. In fact, he's in Milwaukee right now doing selfies with law enforcement officials. Well, guess what? While I'm here at home, before I leave to the RNC, all my pooches are sleeping on MyPillow dog beds. Yes, MyPillow dog beds. I've got one for Macy May Buttercup. I got one for Pika Lola. I got one for Danny, and I got one for Astro. Although I call him Astro the Disastro, he is a much better dog now than when he was a puppy. And they all sleep on MyPillow dog beds. These are revolutionary dog beds from MyPillow with a removable cover that washes up effortlessly. Simply fluff the bed and it returns to its original cozy shape. Without fail. I can guarantee that because I got them for my dogs. Visit mypillow.com. Go to mypillow.com/Carter. That's CARTER, and enter promo code Carter to get the MyPillow dog bed for as low as $25. Give your dog great comfort. Visit mypillow.com/Carter and enter code Carter, CARTER. Be sure to use the promo code Carter to get $25 sale price. Again, mypillow.com/Carter and enter promo code Carter to get the $25 sale price on the dog beds. Please make sure you're subscribed to the Sara Carter Show on your favorite podcast app. We really appreciate it. Follow me on Truth at Sara Carter Official, on X at Sara Carter DC, and on Instagram at SCarterDC. God bless you. God bless our great nation. God bless President Trump and JD Vance, and God bless the great state of Texas.